Yay.
You know what that means? It's a Happy New Year. Oh, okay. Wow. We get to hear it twice.
That's great. Let's go.
Sorry.
And a double Happy New Year to you, too.
We've already fucked up.
Yeah. But, you know, we're acknowledging our humanity early in this year. But you are indeed listening to Contrarians of the Cosmos. And I know we gave that channel update saying that we'll be coming in hot once the new year starts. And I think we have been. So...
Dude, for the first time ever in this channel's history, we have a backlog. We have two videos right now privated, not uploaded. So, damn.
Yeah.
That's great for us. And just Contrarians of the Cosmos is kind of a mouthful for me to say, so I'm just going to go C to the C. You're listening to C to the C. Do you guys like that? I kind of like that.
What about from the river to the sea? How about that?
I don't know. I wouldn't know. Maybe in a different context that could make more sense. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's more for us to figure out as the year goes on. But it is the new year, and I have to ask the both of you, how are you feeling on this new year? How are you feeling?
Hopeful, kind of.
Beautiful. That's elegant. I like that. Yeah. How about you, Tyson?
Get my fitness up, get my money up, get my bitches up.
Let's go. That's how it's done. That's the modern version of Gym Tan Laundry, which used to be the screed of the Jersey Shore show. It's GTL, Gym Tan Laundry. So you're just going to do an extended version of that involving money and bitches. So I'm happy for you there. My New Year was not off to a great start. I woke up New Year's Day and decided to get Indian food in the late afternoon. And not long afterwards, I got Shahi Paneer, which is one of my favorite Indian dishes. I threw up so violently that I looked down on my hoodie sleeve and there was blood on it. And then I looked in the mirror and there was blood running down my nose, out of my nostril. So,
it's like an anime nosebleed.
It was like, that's the best you could do. Digestive system. Like, you haven't even seen it.
Did you have like 3 hours of missing time as well and a sore butthole?
I might as well have. I might as well have. So yeah, I have been sick since New Year's Day and have mostly gotten through it because it was mostly a product of what I ate. But I had never thrown up that badly in my life that my nose started bleeding. So you pop some vessels inside your nose and blood comes out. So I was like, wow, happy New Year to me. But
before you threw up,
a couple months ago,
the food
Tyson,
taste good?
It?
Yeah, that's true. Go ahead.
What?
Did the food taste good when you were eating before you started throwing up?
I felt it tasted fine. It's a place I go to weekly. I love Indian food, as some of you know, and I know you know that, Tyson. And that was the first time I ever had an issue with it. So I'll be taking a month off. From that place. So, but as I was eating it, I felt my stomach hurting, but I was also hungry. So I just kept going, and that might have been the main issue. So, but yes, Tyson did have this problem as well, much more exaggerated. About a month ago, he had an Indian burger. I think that kept him sick for a month. Really, it was terrifying. He would go and throw up during league games.
Dude, it gave me a lung infection.
Did it really?
What?
So
yeah, because it made me cough so fucking much. That's how bad it was.
It's funny to me, though, because I've been eating Indian food most of my life, for at least the last 15 years, probably. And this just happened to be the time where viral videos are showing up on Twitter with how disgusting Indian food is made, like how disgustingly it's made, where people are putting their whole hands in, and street foods. And there's even poor starving Africans making joke videos of how Indians make food, and that just so happens to be matching up with when I get sick from eating Indian. So I don't know.
Not looking good, you guys. It's not looking good when even Africans are dunking on you guys, right?
Yeah, exactly. Even the starving people, you're scaring the starving hoes. So I'll just go in tandem with that, though. I thought about this before New Year's, and I'm going to say it myself out loud. I'm glad it's recorded for affirmation reasons, but this is the year of the risk taker. I will be taking risks this year physically, financially, professionally, romantically, sexually. No, I've done enough of that. So I want to take risks this year. I think last year was a lot about stabilizing some things in my life because it was tough for the last year or two, and I want to take risks. So I'm excited for 2024, and it started off with a bang in looking down into my toilet, but you can only go up from there. So here we are. But I'm excited for the year to start, and you know what we could do right now, because we actually have so much going on with this channel. I haven't been able to do this in a while, but we can do some housekeeping. We just came out with an episode on Rebel Moon. It was a review of Rebel Moon, and mentioning Snyder is like saying Bloody Mary 3 times into the mirror. You never know what you'll summon, and you get the haters, you get the lovers, you get everyone. So Tyson and I gave our honest input on the movie, and we got some feedback from that, and I want to thank everyone for it. We love it. I love it. Negative or positive. I like all kinds of feedback.
You guys got filtered if you didn't like it. So
okay. Wow, that's good. But we have more coming. Tyson and I had a great discussion about Lost. That's already ready to be uploaded. We did a crypto market update, which is exciting. That's going to be uploaded soon. I did do a real estate market update video, but that's a little bit timeless. So when something is a little more present, we'll upload those, and then when we have a little bit of downtime, we'll probably put that real estate market update video in there too. Hope you guys like it. So yeah, and also we all just watched the Mario. Well, Tyson finally caught up with I watched the Mario movie. So
let's just say you guys are going to eat good for that episode.
Yeah, some vindication. Possibly. So that would be nice. But I'll get into something that's been bothering me because I've been
hold up. Just real quick. Guys, if you like the content that we've done recently, please share the channel with anyone. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.
Yes, definitely subscribe. I know I haven't said that in some time, but I do like where we're going with the rebrand and showing that we're doing a lot at once because we enjoy talking about a lot at once. Some would say we're the last living polymaths. So going straight from our screen to yours. So you love to hear it. But something that's been bothering me, that's been going on the last week or so is, and I like the evolution of mainstream's, I don't even want to say alternative media. It seems that a lot of what's being discussed right now is distraction based. So when something happens, they say, "Oh, this is really distracting you from something else that's going on," as if there can't be more than one thing happening in the world at the same time. So the conspiracy sphere is constantly evolving, and it used to be inaccessible. Right. So it used to be niche websites like wellaware1.com where you had to go in, find your information. Maybe there was a forum where people that were there that were just as unhinged as you would share their thoughts, and everything felt very new and fresh and kind of outside of the standards of what you're used to consuming on mainstream media outlets. With the invention of social media and the corporatization of the internet, there's a lot less mystique in conspiracy-related discussions now, because by the time it gets to you through these mediums, it's already been sifted through multiple outlets, and what you're seeing probably isn't the end product of, or it is the end product of what was something that was maybe completely different at the beginning. So what I'm getting at is, what I'm seeing about these Epstein Files is really bothering me. For some reason, people think there's, and it's kind of this old world boomer mindset where, okay, Congress isn't listening to you, the Senate isn't listening to you, the president isn't listening to you, media isn't, but there's some sort of simple trick where we'll get them in the end through the courts and they'll unseal these documents and there'll be a righteous turnover of what's going on in this world and we'll be able to see the truth. I'm sorry, that's just not how it works. And the Epstein documents are just another vessel to for the powers that be to express what they want you to see, or to make you think that's all there is. So once the Epstein Files drop and it's Stephen Hawking enjoying seeing midgets on a chalkboard, or Bill Clinton, wow, that's amazing. Or even if Donald Trump were on it and did go to the island, that wouldn't even be a surprise to me. So it's really nothing at the end of the day. And even if some of these people were to be on the island, there's nothing to prove what they actually did when they were there. So I'm just, the discourse around it is so boring to me. It's really boring, and people think that they can use these normalized mechanisms like federal courts and unsealing documents to try to finally get to the truth. And it's just, it's lame. It's lame, and I think there's better ways to frame the discussion as a whole than, this is going to happen, and once this happens, people will be in the streets. They won't even know what to do anymore. Oh my gosh, the elites are going to have a lot on their hands and not know what to do. That's not going to happen. I'm sorry. There's no way it's going to happen.
If I could just add, I actually do fully believe the Epstein stuff, and I do fully believe that there is a pedophilic mass elite, but I don't believe this document for a fucking second. So it's you're telling me that the elite is full of these pedophiles that pull the strings, which I do believe they are there, but they're somehow going to allow this document to be leaked through the courts? That doesn't make any sense.
Right. Also, oh no, you got it through the courts. No.
Wait, you filed a Freedom of Information Act request? Oh shit.
No,
guys,
I wasn't ready for that.
Over.
Yeah.
And then they show that jacked guy from Judicial Watch, Thomas Fitton. You might not know who that is, and be like, yo, we tried it. Yeah, he's going to do it. Yeah. So no, I think that's a good point. To me, it's a simple story, and people want more to be there. Jeffrey Epstein was most definitely at some point an Israeli state-backed asset that was used to find people or produce evidence of popular figures in compromising positions. Blackmail, essentially. It doesn't go much deeper than that. Or to just foster connections either through governments or wealthy individuals. And he succeeded in that. His time was up. They killed him, and that was that. So, I mean, it's the end of the story, and I don't think anything interesting is going to truly come of it. I knew who Epstein was 12 years ago, and no one was talking about it.
I bet you
Then
did.
they decided it was time to talk about him. I am an Epstein hipster, okay? And for some reason, there was maybe one or two meme pictures going around that said, but no one talks about this guy, has an island, this, that. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting.
Also, notice how convenient the fucking narrative is, right? So you're telling me that they're going to release this document, and the thing that people can't stop talking about, is some scientist who is already dead and is attracted to something that isn't even underage kids. Okay, that's really, really convincing,
Well, why don't you add on to the fact that, and I've said this on this very podcast, that one of the main witnesses, Virginia Giuffre, was shown to be embellishing in a lot of her testimony and had to retract some of it. So, I mean, everything gets too fanciful too quickly, and people are getting ahead of themselves. This is why I miss the old InfoWars days when you could pontificate about Bohemian Grove or FEMA camps. That was a lot more fun. Let's go back to that instead of, they uncovered the document through the information sharing system. Okay. Wow, great. I'm really blown away about that. Next thing you know, some stupid bald guy is going to say UFOs are real from the CIA, and some idiot on some podcast is going to believe him. So
most people, there isn't an audience for that much nuance, because those, and you see this a lot on Twitter now of let's say the flat earth psyop that's been prevalent as of recently. You've either got people who have absolute faith in the government, and people call them NPCs and stuff, right? But on the other end, there's also this other group which they don't get enough shit, and it's the kind of person that kind of believes in this narrative that the government lies, it hates us, wants to kill us and enslave us. They believe that with such strength that it becomes like an unbreakable force in their mind, and they stop thinking and processing anything. Any critical thinking skills they had or didn't have get thrown out the window in favor of this narrative. No, this is real. The earth is flat. No, I don't care what shape the earth is. It's because the government lies to us, and that's going to be at the forefront of my mind. I'm not going to look at evidence. I'm not gonna like process this information myself. I'm just like, this message in my brain is just gonna be beeping like a robot. You know,
and go ahead.
yeah, no, yeah.
No, I was gonna say, it also is the amount of belief you have to have in something, a monolith that's all controlling, that's able to manipulate narratives that are on like a microscopic level in a Twitter thread. They're just trying to do this to distract you. It needs to require such a grand scale collaboration through so many different people getting along. And
I sort of do think there's manipulation though with the Epstein document thing. Like,
well, that like, for sure.
Like there probably is a list, and that probably is not the real list, the one that's just being out. So,
oh no, I know what you mean about that. I'm saying that
just defaulting to bias, and they're gonna go on.
People think that the machine. So the people that Ari is talking about, I think it's a good point, that are on the opposite end of the spectrum, where everything you see isn't real, and the government's always lying to you at every corner. Having to believe in that,
anything that's like remotely, like any piece of quote unquote evidence that's remotely compatible with our worldview, it's like immediate validation to them, and they're all like, oh, this must be true, and they'll start posting this, even if it's complete and utter bullshit, and they get called out on it. They'll be like, oh, okay, but the message is still true though.
The spirit of the message is still true.
It sounds like arguing with Tyson.
This may be fake, but yeah.
But I'm saying there to believe that this monolith is so nimble and able to just control all facets of life in front of you, it requires just too much belief. And I am the most conspiracy-addled maniac I know. I'm just as crazy as the next guy, but you have to be able to understand the nuance in all of these situations and sift through them. But I think a lot of people look for binary kind of polarity in their views and say, well, it's just as simple as this, and they like to know everything, and they figured it all out.
Your belief system shouldn't be infallible.
Infallible?
Infallible, that's it. Yeah, not infallible.
I like that word though.
This entire time that we've been talking, I've had this idea of the type of guy that would believe this Epstein document straight away, and it's this guy that wears a baseball cap, wears his sunglasses, and records rant videos in his pickup truck to upload to Facebook. So we need to execute those people immediately.
Well, the problem is that they'll, for instance, if Biden's Twitter tweets, oh, look at unemployment's up, even though it's really just an increase in part-time unemployment and wages aren't in a good place, people will respond, what about the Epstein list? What about it? What's gonna happen when that comes out that's gonna change your life in any way? Why don't you focus on meaningful change in the economy and people's lives that actually affects your fellow American citizen? Instead, Stephen Hawking likes looking at midgets, or this person that's in an elite position is actually a pedophile. If that were to be true, and it possibly is, most likely is, what's that even changing? What's it even change that Tony Podesta has this tortured child drawing in it? What's it changing? I'm sorry, even if it is true, or it is true, then what's the end goal for that? And it bothers me because they are useful idiots, and the entire conspiracy movement has been co-opted since QAnon started. I mean, that they used to go from disparate parts all over the internet.
It was co-opted way before that.
Yeah,
2016.
True. Yeah, it used to be. Well, this is the end point of it. These people are. This is where it's going. It's getting more and more recycled and mainstream to the point where everyone knows what Epstein did. Everyone knows what that is.
Honestly, I feel like the beginning of the end for the conspiracy movement was 2016, where there was all this talk about Julian Assange, and he got extradited from the embassy. And they say supposedly up until now Julian Assange is still alive, but really he died in 2016, and that information psyop is probably like the beginning of the end for me.
That's a good point, Tyson. I think that is interesting. That was probably
do you remember that? Like fucking London was shut down for 3 hours because of a quote unquote gas attack, and they just never talked about it. They grounded all flights except one plane, and they just never discussed that ever again. How fucking blatant is that?
But also, these things distract us from what's actually going on in our lives, to the point where, some people base their entire political opinions around, why wasn't the Assange situation handled in this way? Like, what is he like? some Swedish, some Australian guy. I'm sorry. How's this going to change my life in any way? I understand the precedents it creates. They're going to do what they want to do anyways. It doesn't matter whether Assange is arrested or dead or anything else. You should still support him in
spirit, though. Because he's doing good shit.
Of course I do. But I'm not going to base my worldview and think that pursuing the truth about Julian Assange is going to be what's best for my country, its economy, its culture. I don't think that's where it's at.
It's like a cultural pandemic. I was going to say, going back to the other point about I was going to say it's predictive programming, right? You're familiar with that conspiratorial term.
Sure.
I think of it like people like to talk about the vax with like COVID and stuff, but this is kind of like it's like the injection of a parasite into the populace's psyche, right? And it doesn't really do much at first. But then it has them susceptible to like vehemently believing in like these worldviews and then dismissing just different things. It doesn't matter which side you're on. It has you dismiss things, and it kind of really pans out. It kind of pans out to be like the whole like nanobot vaccine thing, but like in the global consciousness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. It's almost snowballed, right, from where it started from, and now you've created such a culture of disbelief. You can almost do anything you want. It's just as valuable as everyone believing what you say. They don't believe anything that's going on.
Cognitive dissonance. There you go.
There you go. That's a good term to arrive at to kind of cap it off. So yeah, I'm just frustrated with it, and I'm frustrated with people believe the consequences of it will be, which is nothing. So just move on. Go recede back to less looked at parts of the internet. You'll have more fun being a conspiracy theorist there. Following along with the people on Twitter isn't the end goal there. So
also stop recording videos in your truck. You look like shit. So
also you can never trust a boomer that he's like sitting in his Ford F-150 with like a MAGA hat and those shades, and he's got a beard, and like they're always in a drive-thru at like a Wendy's or something, and they're always eating in the parking lot, and then like they'll pull their phone out and they'll record a video on XRP going to the moon, and then they'll talk about the elites.
You know, I just know their Facebook page name or YouTube name is some dumb shit like Jimmy's Rants or some shit like that, you know.
I don't know. You guys
and they'll post like a wolf emoji with the American flag.
Caricatures of Americans right now. I think my culture is being appropriated. Actually,
guys, I just had to talk about this. Right, the deep state, they're losing. It's over in 2 weeks. You know, it's once the Patriots get into control.
Well, there's always something coming, and they like the finality of it all. They like to think that it's just about money. It's just about adrenochrome. What's it about?
It's amazing because these same people love to shit on the left about like comparing things to like Harry Potter, and yet these guys are like acting out an American action movie.
You know what's
so good?
You know what's funny? I really love the mental image of some dumbass fucking boomer who's so troubled about the deep state that he has to pull out his phone halfway through the Wendy's drive-thru and like record a rant. he's like halfway through ordering a burger. He's like, Wendy's. I have to talk about the deep state right now.
It's like being honest with yourself in the moment. You ever see those memes that talk about when you're playing video games and the screen goes black for a second, you just see the reflection of yourself and think about what you're doing at that moment.
You ever just confront like a 21-year-old blue-collar worker who's like severely in debt and can't buy a home, and you start talking about the deep state to them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there should be a political discussion about where people try and talk about the issues, and you say, yeah, but you do know that the deep state is, you know, in control, right? And we as patriots need to, you know, whatever. Oh, I just realized it's January 6th.
Holy, the anniversary.
And you know what? It's actually I really want to put a cap on this because Tyson has an interesting subject to talk about, and this is more about me venting, but a lot of things that we used to not be able to discuss, there's a lag to it. So you used to never even be able to utter the term. Well, just think about it. You used to never be able to utter the term Zionism. You used to never be able to talk about it, right? Now
The fact we can say that now.
that has been catapulted. We can talk about Israel. We can talk about Palestine. We can talk about control.
The fact that the fact that we can openly say that Jews from the media.
Well, look, you listen. I'm not sure.
Implying they don't.
No, listen. All right, look, you guys are being tempered. All right, I respect it. So I'm just saying that the marketplace of discussion is a lot more different now. Remember when you used to not even be able to say anything about January 6th? You could not say anything about COVID really coming from a lab.
Has changed, you know?
Let's just say that the conspiracy Overton window has changed over the last few years in ways that I did not expect. So it's fun to watch. But you know what else?
It's fun to watch, but it's also kind of sickening in a strange way to see normal people talk about Zionism the way they do. Like, I see, like, just like OnlyFans girls or whatever, and like Instagram comments, and they're saying how like, oh, but this celebrity is a Zionist Jew, and I'm like, what the
based? That's good.
Yeah, they would just say that.
But that's good. It's so weird, you know. It
is a bit surreal. Well, for instance, you used to never eat. No one even knew who Alex Jones was 10 to 15 years ago. Now he's a household name. There's a difference now. There's a complete difference in perspective.
I also love how Kanye a year ago around this time was supposedly going nuts, but he's really just saying all the same shit everyone's saying now. And the very same people that are like calling out supposedly calling out Jews in brackets or whatever. Well, the very same ones hating on him. So, like, what changed in them? And
you know,
the fact that it was mainstream.
He paved the way. So he paved the way for everyone else.
I don't think it was Kanye that started anything at all. I don't think these people think about Kanye at all.
He was the one that started the conversation. You know,
he started the conversation, but that's not the reason why these people shifted their beliefs.
Also,
they shifted their beliefs because it became the Yeah, go on.
You want to talk about predictive programming? Why did we have an entire news cycle of Kanye West and anti-Semitism more or less a year before a major attack from Palestine, or whatever? God, or what are they called? What are the people that attacked Israel?
Palestinians.
Hamas into Israel a year after that. That also catapulted the conversation. It's like dynamite. It's like a dynamite.
You think he's
stick,
controlled
right?
opposition?
I'm not trying to imply anything. I just think the coincidence is strange, and this kind of reminds me of this documentary called Hypernormalization that everyone should watch, and it talks about how disparate events through time are connected, and our world's becoming less real around us as money becomes less real and events become less real. So real things happen, and just the fact that we were having this conversation about the Jewish people, and a year after that, Israel's catapulted to mainstream discussion. I don't know. That's a little strange to me. I never made that connection. But what can you do, right? I'm just here for the ride. So.
I can't wait to see what Ohio has to offer with whole explosion that happened there was never brought up again.
You're like, I'm still stuck on the Ohio explosion. So luckily we have an episode about that. So.
I have a feeling maybe that's going to be the place where, like, unironically, like, there's some like alien event or something, like some Roswell 2 that's maybe it's staged, maybe it's not, but like the memes, you can't get away from that. Anything and everything that's like superstitious nowadays that's in the mainstream is attributed to Ohio, like, jokingly.
Okay, so it's like, you must have hit an algo in your feed or something where you're seeing a lot of Ohio-related content.
No, I think we talked about this on our podcast.
I don't see that stuff anymore at all. Like, where are you seeing Ohio memes?
I'm not, but like it was there at one point. So I think it's been like the whole parasite thing. It's been injected into the back of people's minds, and then like now that the idea of like Ohio and weird stuff happening are like connected.
What was the purpose of injecting
something
Harambe
like that happens
into the consciousness? What was the purpose of injecting Harambe into the consciousness?
All right, I'm pulling the rope back in. Okay, you heard it here first, folks. Ohio endgame. We're going to move on from this. But it's an exciting part of the new year because Tyson has his goodie bag hat of subjects. And I'm looking at quite a few here, and there's one that's sticking out to me. And this is kind of I don't need you to define the term. It's one of those words where when you see it, you know what it means. You kind of don't need a definition. So Tyson has a note for us as he put in the recommendation for his topic. It's called gooning. And then in parentheses, he says, trust me. So we have to trust him with this difficult and sensitive topic. So Tyson, what do you have to say about gooning?
Dude, you guys want to talk about Overton window? How crazy is it that this fucking term has exploded in popularity over the past 2-3 years? Like, I remember when it was just a fringe fucking like meme, but now everyone and everyone like barely online knows what gooning means. How funny is that?
The same can be said for the word like based and
okay. I have to ask Tyson, since maybe you're trying to be the gooning expert here. Just analysis of gooning, not the act of it. I know you're not a true gooner, but is gooning? Let's put it. It's got a mythical status. Is gooning real? Are there actual people who are so addicted to pornography that I never went on
Goon
Let me get into it. So gooning.
I can't tell if it's people joking. Sorry, go ahead.
No, trust me, they're not joking, and it's really fucking funny that they're not joking. But I'm going to give a quick description as to what gooning is, right? So gooning is lovely. Is simply defined as the state that you achieve after a really long session of edging. Okay, so the premise is that you edge the porn for such a long time that you enter a hypnotic, meditative state. and as a result, a gooned out man will become very submissive and demonstrative with his emotions, to the point where his facial expressions look like a goon from a cartoon. You know, like one of those goons from Batman.
Is the end goal to reach this meditative state or to release?
So apparently it feels really fucking good if you reach that state, but this is what I want to get into, right? So I started researching this. I'm like, okay, how does someone get into fucking gooning? And
my dude got the Dummy's Guide to Goon.
We laugh, but this is actually horrifying.
I know, dude. So I started like thinking about the psychology of gooning, and some interesting stuff came up. So it seems to me the act of gooning is an obsession over obsession itself. You know, it's like a meta obsession. They're turned on by the fact that they're obsessed by something. You know, being into gooning is sort of like you're constructing an idea of a better version of yourself, and then being turned on by the destruction of that better self image. You know, it's sort of like a sex addict saying, after going to therapy, saying like, and then relapsing, and then saying, yeah, it used to be just like I'm a dumb, stupid sex addict whore. You know, they're destroying a better version of themselves, and they're turned on by it. And you know,
it's a form of masochism, maybe.
Sort of.
Okay.
It's sort of like people that get turned on by like girls calling their dick small and all that. But something that really that I aligned with is I was reading this passage in Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, and there was something that was essentially gooning in that scenario. So, but it was
literary gooning.
It was platonic gooning, right? So, if you remember this passage, Moyer, who I know you've read the book before, but there was this passage where there was this drunken Russian man, and he's telling the protagonist his tales about his degenerate behavior and his addiction to alcohol, destroying his family, and you know, he's such a piece of shit that he's even forced his daughter to turn to prostitution in order to put food on the table. And he's using his daughter's prostitution money to get even more drunk, right? And the way that he tells the protagonist this tale, he tells it almost as if he's gloating about what a piece of shit he is. He's telling it as if he's gloating and hoping that someone who listens to him takes pity on him in some form or another. You know, to me, gooning is that. It's the idea of being it is being turned on over the idea of being a porn-obsessed retard, jerking off to such a degree that you enter like a hypnosis state, you know?
It's also escapism, it sounds like, as well, a form of it. I mean, you're kind of falling out of yourself and looking at yourself. And
sort of,
like
I see more like
that.
a slippery slope, right? Like you know, you can sort of like apply the evolution of kink and fetishes to this, where, you know, previously you would have like really instinctual and base kinks that make sense, like, oh, I love girls with big titties. It just makes sense if you love girls with big titties, right? But then as you get more exposed to stuff and you need to chase that dopamine hit, you go further and further down the ladder to the point where your obsession isn't even about sex itself. It's an obsession over itself. You know, it's,
you
like
know,
a
what's
meta
funny?
thing.
That falls into commiseration. And when you were talking about that line from Crime and Punishment, it reminds me of when you're out at a bar and you meet a bar person. A lot of you know what I'm saying just from that term. They start telling you about a lot of their issues, and they can't stop talking about themselves and how messed up their situation is, and how it feels to them that it's the most important thing going on for you to hear about this. But as they keep going and are so self-involved about it, it's almost like they're romanticizing their shortcomings in life and their mishappenings. They like being fractured.
Yeah.
They like being messed up. They like being depressed, and they don't want to better themselves in that sense. They want to be in a bar and be able to observe their state that they're enamored with other people, so they can see it too and affirm it. Maybe so. Maybe gooning is like a sexual version of that, which is sad. It's sad. I can't stand talking to those kind of people that glorify the way they feel. They almost martyr themselves in a way, which I don't think is happening in gooning. But people in bar, they like to use their issues as props, you know, to further romanticize their lives. And what you say,
I think that's a really good term that you just used, martyr, because if you look at the mental state of someone that is getting into gooning, they sort of are martyring themselves towards this altar of just like, I'm gonna jerk my weenie so fucking much until I enter this hypnosis state, right? So they are martyring themselves in a sense of the word.
I didn't know that there was some structure. I wouldn't call it structure. I didn't know that there was theory or analysis behind why they were doing it. I just thought they were obsessed with sex to the point where they were just so porn-addled that they can't control themselves. They need it around 24/7. I didn't know there was an edging.
Dude, you know what's the most horrifying thing? When I was doing my research, you know, I thought, okay, there's no way that this is like a real problem, right? But I was proven wrong. So the gooning subreddit has 1.3 million subscribers, and there's so many people into gooning that there's a gooner recovery subreddit as well. So it's people that are like ex-gooning, you know, just like ex-Mormon, ex-Muslim, there's ex-gooners saying like, yeah, man, this really helped me like recover from relapsing from a goon session and all that. Dude,
I like
the funniest thing is I saw this guy say, you know, at my gooniest, I would not
Gooniest?
I would not take showers for a couple weeks because it would enhance the feeling of my goon sessions when I wasn't showering.
Yeah.
There was a show when I was younger called Tiny Toons, and the intro would be like, we're tiny, we're toony, and it just reminds me of Goonie Toons. They're not Goonie Tunes. We need to. How does someone should probably? I hate to encourage it, but AI generate Goonie Tunes. I would be fearful to know what that sounds like. I thought they were all kidding. Ari jokingly sent me some Goon Cave picture.
No, they're serious.
I thought it was all a joke. I didn't know there were 1.3 million subscribers. What were you gonna say?
I've had this mental image ever since Tyson said it's like some meditative state of like a gooner next to like a Buddhist monk on top of a mountain. Yeah. He's like in such a Zen state, and then there's this other guy who's like,
I know. It's just funny trying to deify themselves into Eastern philosophical, you know, figures.
And it's like,
look at me, I'm reaching a Zen state too.
But on a deeper level, it's interesting because like traditional forms of meditation kind of aim to I hate to say this word again because I know it's kind of divorced mum like, but vibrations. Like traditional meditation aims to achieve like a higher vibration, to like your consciousness to enter like a higher plane. This sounds like you go in the other direction. It's like you're driving into oncoming, you're driving through like oncoming traffic. And you're like trying to lower that shit as much as possible to a point where like you're almost lobotomized in a way. And you've just got this constant stream of like dopamine and like you're strapped to a bed in a psych ward.
I don't think we'll get anywhere with a semen retention discussion, but just speaking subjectively, I don't think it's healthy to masturbate every day. And I think it's even less healthy to masturbate to pornography every day. Now, if you're masturbating to pornography more than one time a day, and then also adding an edging element to it, you have an issue. I'm just saying, I believe you have an issue. I don't think there's something natural about that, and I don't think that's going to foster you healthy, real-life sexual connections. I'll just go out on a limb and say
standpoint, it more or less is indifferent to a substance addiction. And the other thing is, ask yourself this. I know some primates do this, but like, you ever seen a cat masturbate, like a lion or a tiger or an elephant or a giraffe or a horse?
No, do they?
No, they don't. They get by life perfectly fine. They'll like hunt stuff.
That's a good point.
You don't ever see a horse gooning. You know who you do see gooning? The fucking stupid animal. Dogs. They try to. They try to goon. Monkeys. The stupid fucking chimp. You don't see orangutans do it, and they're like the most civil, most chill primates around. And then you have like these feral chimpanzees, and they'll be like stuck in an enclosure, and they'll be like, I'm gooning.
Tyson, I really do appreciate you doing the heavy lifting and the hard work for a subject like this. So I think we should cool off. Do you have anything else to say about that subject, or we'll place that one for now?
Even more disturbing is Goon Caves is really really real. Like it actually does exist.
It's incredible.
And I've seen some fucking horrors when searching what other people Goon Caves are like. So
you're not meant to eject your seed into nothing that many times a day alone. So it just doesn't make any sense.
Have you seen a Goon Cave?
People go to work. And like, Zoomers, they like to spend their paychecks on like a really nice gaming setup for them to play with their friends on Discord. These guys, they go to work and then they spend like an exponential amount of that money on... I don't even know how to describe it. Tyson,
I'm just gonna finish it by telling you guys a really funny observation that I made. So these gooners, sometimes they would invite a gooner friend of themselves to have like a double goon session, right? And it's really
just called being gay.
It's but supposedly both of them would just like watch porn together in the same room and just jerk off. But I love how like half of the post about these like double gooning sessions, they're like, dude, I was gooning so much that I just ended up sucking off this guy's dick.
I'm sorry, but I didn't see the connection earlier, and I always thought it was I always thought it was a strange statement. It was a famous rock musician once said it. I can't recall who, but it said, "You become so bored having sex with women." I think I've said this on this podcast before.
I think I know who you're talking about.
You become so bored having sex with women that you want to start engaging in sexual acts with men to see what the next stage of perversion can be. And pornography is the equivalent to that. You become so numb to sex, you start to experiment with things that you normally wouldn't, and that could be latent homosexuality.
So numb, I can feel you.
Exactly. I'm sorry, Tyson, but you just brought up a strange memory I had. You think of the nostalgia where you're in
the Moyer Goon Cave.
Yeah. I am presently reporting to you live from I remember you think about neighborhood stories when you're a kid where, you have a friend and his friend from the neighborhood comes by and just starts saying weird stuff. I had an instance of that where I was at my little cousin's in his neighborhood. We were about 8, 9, 10. I wasn't quite sure what masturbating was. I kind of had an idea of it. And his friend came by and said, "You guys know there's like, there's like this really cool thing you can do." Where like his friend Dave, he's like, where you like, if you like do this, like with your dick a lot, and like, some like little white stuff comes out and like it feels really good.
How
and
old
then
was he?
I was like, he might have been a year older than us,
Okay.
but he knew what it was. Maybe he had brothers, and he's like, I was like, okay, like, thank you for sharing. Can you please? We're trying to trade Pokemon cards here and talk about scary movies that I'm too afraid to see. Can you not? And he's like, yeah, we should all go like in a different corner of a room later and try it. That's what you telling me that story reminded me of. So I got invited to a goon session when I was 10 years old, and I didn't even know it. So that dude was OG. He was good.
Could have been step one, dude. Could have been step one.
Yeah, right. You want to talk about, Tyson, like the last episode we did, small decisions you can make in life. What if I chose the goon on that bright day? I don't know. How would things have ended up? I don't know.
Put it this way, seeds would have been sown that day.
Seeds to last a lifetime. So, all right, we'll cool off. It's getting a little hot and heavy in here. So I'll go to another. Yeah, it's getting a little hot in the goon cave.
Teach a man to coom, he'll feel pleasure for a day. Teach a man to goon, he'll feel pleasure for life.
A wise wisdom pearl. I appreciate that. So let's leave the goon cave. Let's go get something to eat. Let's go to a restaurant. I'm seeing a subject that's interesting to me that Tyson wanted to discuss, and it's called wearing hats at restaurants. What's the issue here, Tyson? Educate.
So I got really, really fucking angry. I think a week or two ago when I saw this post from a boomer complaining about like these quote unquote youngsters in this restaurant who have no respect because they're wearing hats inside the restaurant. And it's like things like this like really, really piss me off, because it's like, how does that affect you? How does wearing a hat affect you in any way? The same with like this trope about, oh, you can't put your elbows on the table, or you have to like like all these old wives' tales, like all these old customs that you have to adhere to. I hate them so fucking much. But I can't put my finger as to like why it makes me so angry,
The reason
what if the guy had cancer and the boomer's just been a prick?
I don't. Oh, like he had to wear a hat because he was tall. Yeah, that's what you should say to counter it. Be like, well, actually, I have cancer. I have to wear this hat. I'm sorry. It makes me a little embarrassed that I lost all my hair. But I think the reason that might, and I always take I like these impromptu therapy sessions of I have to look into Tyson's psyche when he says something makes him angry, but it possibly could be, and this is just what's sticking out at first to me, is that boomer who's being critical of this, let's just say millennial or Generation Z person in this restaurant, he is probably just as emotionally and mentally stunted and childish as that kid is. Because boomers, if not more, because we all know when you get them in a situation where it's just, a little touch and go, there might be like, some need for dialogue to kind of talk through a moment. They're angry immediately. They jump to anger right off the bat. And those are the people that want to talk about food etiquette. He's probably the first guy to send his steak back because it's rare instead of medium rare. He's the first person to do that, but he wants to get angry that people are wearing hats in a restaurant. It's
a lack of empathy. These kinds of people are just unable to introspect. Like
because
really,
their
like,
wartime
on a day-to-day
parents
basis,
didn't love them properly.
On a day-to-day basis, you really have no idea what's going on in someone's life and what they're going through. So, like, is it really that hard to just be nice? They don't see that because they weren't properly loved by their nuclear family parents, and they think they are the center of the universe going forwards because that's what they think they deserve out of life. And they think that no one else deserves it either. Their childhoods and their young adult lives should be just as hard as theirs were. And theirs weren't even hard. Theirs weren't even difficult.
I love how the boomers will take this. I love how the boomers will take these customs, like not wearing a hat in a restaurant, and look at someone not doing that, and then use that as as evidence that society has declined. It's like, no, I think society declined when people like you voted for the 1965 Hart-Celler Immigration Act. You know, I don't think it's because of people wearing a fucking hat in the restaurant. You know,
he's getting legislative about it. I know, and he's the first person to have a mental breakdown when someone steals his parking spot unknowingly. You know what I mean? Like this.
These kinds of people are like Oblivion I don't want to say NPC because it's such a fucking bastardized term, but they almost view social interaction like under a kind of clinical veil, because they were raised like according to a book instead of like through love. And like oh fuck, what was I going with this?
You were getting pretty psychoanalytical about it.
Yeah. They fuck. God damn it.
That's okay. I think you're going.
I'll get back to it.
Bitch, I'm supposed to turn my swag off just because I'm in the restaurant, bitch.
That's why you're so angry. That's immediately why you're so angry. Look, well, there will be a Boomer Reckoning episode because it literally from day one of this episode of this show, before we were the C to the C and we were the TPB, I was talking about how much I hated old people. Okay, that you can find that on episode 1. So I'm going to keep that energy going until the day until I become an old person. I say I hate myself, or I right all the wrongs that I've experienced through them. But boomers had wartime parents that did not give them the proper love and affection that they needed. They were standoffish. They practiced tough love, and boomers they never felt reciprocated in love, and they tried in their own ways to kind of be better than their parents while still mimicking some of the techniques that they used when raising them, and kind of pass that on to their kids. And it's created a mess. It's created a generation of stunted children that grew up in an incredible economy that they've used to maximize their advantage, and anyone before or after them will not be able to reap the benefits of it. And they think you deserve that too. They deserve the terrible situation that you're in. The student loan discussion kind of crystallizes the way that boomers feel. They say, well, I had to do it. Why should they? I always thought it was a good...
You just reminded me why.
You have to pay off all $12 of your original student loan.
Yes, but not only that, I saw a good tweet. It said, you know, guy who has cancer, or you know, it's like you had cancer for a while and then you're cured of it, and then or not that you're cured of it, but you end up beating it, and then they've come out with a cure for cancer after that, and you're mad about it. You're like, why should they get a cure for cancer? I had to fight my cancer the old-fashioned way. It's the same thing with student loans.
They're basically eternally bitter children that are trying to get the one-up over their parents to kind of like, see, despite all you did to me, I'm here, and you're not getting this back. So it's like they view everything, every social interaction as a kind of transactional kind of dialogue, and the end game is to, at the very least, get something out of it for themselves, or more often than not, just get their way. It's almost sociopathic.
It is, and that's a really good point, because I don't think they'll ever be able to live up to their parents. Their parents saw war, their parents saw hardship, their parents lived a very different life from them, and they worship it, but also rebuke it. They're walking oxymorons in that way, and they take it out on us. So it's really annoying.
They see their fathers, and like they see their fathers, and the father's idea of tough is like fucking trench warfare and watching your best friend's like leg be blown off, and it's like, God,
and they pretend that's a part of them. They're like, yeah, I had to go through that too. That's why you kids have it so easy. It's like, no, you didn't.
Like, they see that and they're like, okay, well, I didn't go through that, but like, I need to like discipline my son in a way, but like, you know, I need to be macho too, and like, you know, one up my dad still. So tough love is going to be the way I'm going to do that. But like, then I also look at like,
that's so smart,
a lion raising its cubs, and it's like licking it and loving it all over. You don't see fucking like a leader of a lion pack beating the shit out of his son. You never see like, what are you talking about?
Also, when you talk, we'll simplify it a little bit. When you're talking about restaurant etiquette, boomers are the first people to be getting a loud alarm going off, slowly taking their phone out, putting their glasses on. They do that weird thing where they squint their eyes and open their mouths where their lower chin comes out. Yeah, and then they're looking down at it, and then they're not shutting off the volume, by the way, and then they decide that's the time to pull out their Facebook, start looking at that, showing it to everyone at the table. I like to still consider myself young, but even I know you don't take out your phone at the table ever.
Also,
that's all they do. That's all they do.
Boomers use their phone, they use it in like a really annoying fucking way. Like they hold it and then they push it with like a single finger, as if like there's a physical button. It's like, can you just use it like a normal fucking person, please?
You know what? And I've said this on this show before. When you're driving, look into the cars next to you. These boomers are on their phones while driving 24/7, and who knows what prescription medication they're on too. They love to get on kids' cases for being on their phones all the time. They're on their phones on the highway 24/7. Don't let them tell you otherwise.
You brought up such a good point.
My question to you guys is, let's say both of you guys are in the restaurant. You guys both have swaggy ass hats on, and a boomer comes up to you and says, "Yo, take it off. You're being disrespectful." What are you guys gonna do?
Since 2024 is the year of the risk taker, I'll just tell you, I will pop a boomer in the fucking face. I'm looking for that opportunity. I want a YouTube video of me to go viral, popping a boomer in the fucking face. You know, and it's gonna be like a metaphysical, symbolic victory over the menace that they are. That's what it's gonna be. So,
I mean,
what were you gonna say? You were gonna say something.
I forgot what I was gonna say earlier, but if it's an actual boomer, like a dictionary definition boomer, then if you really want to get on his nerves, you could say something like, "Oh, well, your father fought for my right to wear this hat. Like, who are you to?"
You're such a little social weasel.
Your daddy died for my right, and you want to take it away from me?
How dare you disrespect your father like that?
Yeah.
Oh, that is so good. I'm gonna remember that. What about you, Tyson? Tough Muay Thai tough guy. What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna say no, and then just leave it at that. And then if they push it, I'll be like, I would bring out the ad homs. I'm gonna look at what they look like. If they're fat, I'm gonna be like, dude, fucking fat ass retard. Don't even step to me.
Don't even step to me. Oh my goodness! All right, I love it. So we went from a conspiracy discussion to the gooning question to getting angry about restaurant etiquette that kind of unlocks some generational trauma. So let's cap it off with something a little bit easier. We'll jump back into the conspiracy related direction just because it's a little viral. It's a little fun. And I'd like to hear Ari's input on it. I did indeed see the line of police cars outside of the Miami mall. I wasn't sure what that was, and then some people seem to extrapolate from that it was related to aliens, and there's a zoomed in video where you can see what they're saying is a gray figure running around, which is, I don't see it, I'm sorry, but yeah, so what's going on at the Miami mall, Ari? Are there aliens or what?
So it's an ongoing investigation, and most of the videos you see on YouTube depict like a mall in Miami. It looks like the scene out of like a 6-star GTA mission.
It does.
Right? And like the police presence,
there really were like
crazy.
50 police cars there. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It's hilarious because like the news reports say like oh, it was like a fight. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Why is it news that there's a fight in Miami?
Yeah, right.
It's like, what? And the kids no way.
Their explanation was even dumber. They said, well, there were 50 kids engaging in, it was a sort of flash mob affair. Even then, that wouldn't warrant that much police activity. Even then,
supposedly the flash mob had fireworks. That's why there was a commotion. Supposedly.
Like what? It's like Chinese chancellor's like daughter Su Yung captured in a building and then like holding a ransom.
So
like,
young.
$50 million? Who you think? Anyway.
You got Chelsea
Yes.
Clinton.
So
flash mobs, what the
eyewitness
fuck?
accounts on Twitter are talking about how like people were in the mall and they started freaking out because long story short, what seemed to be like some interdimensional kind of fading into our reality, kind of 10-foot gray alien looking beings started walking around, and apparently they looked confused and like almost scared. And like almost as if they themselves like were wondering, what the fuck am I doing here right now? And apparently they'd be like phasing in and out of existence, kind of almost like stop motion animation, like moving around and like teleporting to different places. That's what people were saying. It gets more interesting though. So while people were saying that and people were denying it, they're talking about how cameras are spazzing the fuck out, and how apparently like with the police presence, so this is where the police presence comes in. They locked off the entire area, and then they formed a kind of line, and no one was allowed to get out unless they checked their phone like thoroughly to scrape away any evidence that they may have otherwise captured. Despite the fact that like phones were spazzing out, and like when they looked into these beings' eyes, they couldn't function properly. And besides that, there was a huge internet outage in that entire area for the entire day.
Really?
Supposedly.
Damn.
There are people that don't even live near the mall, but live in Miami, that were saying, yeah, the internet's just been completely fucked all day. No one's been able to use their phone. Don't know what's going on.
Not to get too immediately conspiratorial, start talking about HARP and things like that, but why would there not be, let's just say, entity-controlled, targeted EMP-like devices, maybe interference devices that could make sure that there was an information blackout over a certain area, wherever they wanted? I'm sure that technology exists. Why would it not?
Absolutely.
Just interrupting airwaves.
EMPs do exist, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it could have just been a targeted airwave interruption to make sure nothing got out of what was going on in that mall. I mean, that's interesting. I didn't know that part of it.
Ari, you brought up a couple episodes ago how like you think this alien disclosure is going to happen in 2024, and you know what? I was against you back then, but I'm coming around to it. You know, if this is how disclosure for aliens happens, like just cool shit popping off in random malls, I'm all in for it. I want cool shit to pop off. So
there's like two there's a consensus. There's two ways disclosure can take place. There's a controlled disclosure, which is just about what you think it is, like the government slowly bleeding this out into the mainstream consciousness. And then there's this other one that's been coined as catastrophic disclosure, which is basically where the fucking floodgates open, whistleblowers are the ass, everyone's coming out, and then literal aliens are just meeting people in public. Like, just, they don't give a fuck. Like,
pleased to meet you.
Disaster. So when it comes to this case in particular, I've been at a crossroads, right? So obviously there are people screaming psyop, other people screaming, oh, this is real, but there's a cover-up going on. But I'm divided because on one side, this doesn't have all the signs of a psyop. Like, yeah, there's the whole cover-up thing going on, people being silenced. But like just earlier today, a similar phenomenon just occurred in Brazil, in like a kind of rural area, and like on the top of like a mountain there's like these two similar looking-ish like 10-foot greys walking around. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is an ongoing thing, and like this is going to happen worldwide.
Down there though. I don't buy it.
The other thing is, it reminded me of something that got memory hold in 2020 that wasn't even to do with aliens, but involved US authorities. And that was, you remember the riots during
of course,
COVID, when
George Floyd.
Yes.
Died of
in Washington DC, do you recall everyone was rioting and they were like screaming outside the White House, and the lights of the White House went dark the first time like ever or something. There was like an image, look it up. There's like an ominous image of the lights going out of the White House, and then
that meant the Patriots were waking up. That was the signal.
So there was like a build up to this, or live streams and everything. They were trying to break like onto the White House lawn, and everyone was storming.
Party on the White House.
And then every single live stream in Washington DC just disappeared. People on Twitter just randomly went silent, and then an hour later live streams go back up, Washington DC is empty, and then you go on Twitter and people like freaking out like, we don't know what just happened, and then a bunch of people all geotagged, like loads of different real Twitter accounts, all geotagged in Washington DC around the White House. They all started copy and pasting not copy and pasting. They all started posting the exact same copy pasta at the exact same time, talking about how everything was fine and the riot was over, or something.
What?
Like word for word.
Really?
Hey, that's how information warfare works. That's how, airwave control works.
So the internet outage, the whole sudden silence, and everyone saying the same thing at the same time, it's so similar. And like, I don't know what happened.
Interesting, Ari.
I don't know what happened at the whole like Washington D. Like nothing. There was maybe that was like a beta test for like a January 6th thing or something, or
test run.
Maybe that was a test run for a situation like this. Can we actually control something ridiculous?
Well, and people don't really understand the depth in the show, but this is a concept that's introduced in X-Files, where they show you these a biological organism that's supposedly extraterrestrial undergoing an autopsy, but they want you to see that and see how they can control the information outflow and public perception from it. And that's kind of like what you're talking about, is, taking these events and seeing how you can experiment with just social mechanisms and control points. So
right.
I
so
think,
it's like a good analogy for this. Well, I think it's a good analogy. I'm not sure. I use this on my sister. But so if you take someone from the 1950s who has seen a car before and you showed them a Tesla, they would probably be very, very impressed, but they're not going to have their entire worldview shattered by it. They're going to think, wow, this is the future. Okay. It's really cool. If you take someone from the 1400s and showed them a Tesla, they are going to flip their shit. They're going to think that you're like a fallen angel or something, like you're from a breakaway civilization. Their worldview is going to break.
Yeah, I know.
And it's all because someone from the 1900s has been exposed to like a smaller kind of form of the idea that like a much more crazy thing isn't. So
they're almost nursing public perception, you might say, about what's going on.
Okay, so do you think there's a critical mass point where they'll just let the floodgates open, or what? It's going to slow down.
That would be the catastrophic thing. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but there's an agenda by 2030 for like globalism and stuff, right? And I think this is genuinely going to have a role in it.
Okay.
So
we don't want to do the full disclosure. We definitely need to have a full disclosure episode, but cap it off.
I'm not sure what to say.
I just wanted to point out that you have so a lot of them remind me, and I want people to look it up. It's called the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblin Incident, where there was a family in Kentucky that either hallucinated or physically saw aliens attack their farm, and they shot at them with shotguns and were able to corroborate each other's testimony and told it to police. This happened a long time ago, but I looked through a lot of alien incidents, I guess capturing alien incidents or anecdotal stories through the same lens of that story, because I think it's an interesting one. And it reminds me of the girl talking about the guy being on the plane, that MFer is not real, which we never really got a full explanation from her, even though she's catapulted herself. And then the one that I'm not forgetting about is Vegas last year, where there was a lot of discussion around UFO disclosure, and then there just happened to be 2 weeks after that someone seeing an alien in their backyard in Vegas, and there's police testimony saying, yeah, I saw it too. No one thought that was strange. We stopped talking about that.
And they also said it was like 8 foot tall, and
yeah.
I thought Grace is supposed to be like shorter than us, not taller than us. What's up with that?
That's something for another day. There's something to that, but
yeah, so I just think it kind of goes along with what you're saying, is that they sprinkle these, if this were to be some sort of perception exercise, they're using a lot of these events to kind of test the public's reaction, get us used to the concepts, see see what we'll warm up to and what we won't, and then go from there. So yeah, I do think it could snowball. You know, it's only a matter of time before someone gets a video of just a lit up, Gulf Breeze type UFO craft.
I used to lament the fact that the time that I lived in was really boring and nothing ever happens. But I think that's starting to change. I think things are accelerating and things are starting to happen. So I'm sort of grateful for that, and I'm keeping my eyes open, and I'm eagerly awaiting what's the next thing to happen. You know?
Yeah, hey, it's an exciting time to be alive. But I was going to say, to cap it off, you said in 2030, what's going to happen?
Oh no, the 2030 thing was the UN agenda. I've forgotten which number the article was. It's like 31, 41, something like that. The globalist agenda, just the general globo homo conspiracy, right? That's a thing. Sure. WEF and all that as well. Like,
I don't subscribe to a lot of that. I think it's too public facing, but yeah.
It is sustainability, all this and that. If you subscribe to that, then I can see how the threat of aliens and all that could tie into it. But then that also means that it is like controlled disclosure. So whether you believe in controlled disclosure or a catastrophic disclosure, for sure, if aliens exist, they've definitely made contact, and there's probably some level of cooperation. So I think the reality is probably a kind of middle ground.
Again, which is laid out in the
conspiracies.
Yeah. This is a good time to bring up that we do have another channel where we talk about stuff like this in depth.
Yeah.
And it's called The Scary Door. And the reason I feel bad about cutting you off a little bit there is because I want to have a grand disclosure episode, so I don't want to give it all away here, where we dive really deep into this and talk about it on that channel. So we definitely, because I think we have differing views on disclosure and what it means and who are the figures that you can trust in it. Some surprising ones from Ari, but yeah, so we're gonna go deep into that in the other channel called The Scary Door, which is probably linked to here, and we would really love if you guys went over there and took a look, because that's my favorite channel. That's what I enjoy talking about the most, and believe it or not, I enjoy listening to Ari talk about the things that he talks about. And I just like telling personal scary stories because I have a lot of them. Lived a frightful life, some would say. But yes, it's a paranormal conspiracy. If you like, and it's not evidence based. It's just more about stories and kind of like using your imagination with them. So we enjoy that. That's what we do here. So does anything have anything else to wrap it up real quick? So Tyson, I just had a great Diet Coke. Been on Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi.
Let's go.
Lately.
Let's go.
I will be trying that Nitro Pepsi soon. So we seem to end a lot of our episodes talking about Pepsi or Coke. So I thought I'd bring it up. But you guys got anything in closing real quick that's been bothering you, or we think we're good to go here?
Yeah, shout out to all our Brazilian viewers. Ja, 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 ja.
Very good.
No, I'm good.
Is that a slur? Or I don't
No,
know.
that's how they type
Ha ha ha. No, I do know that. I just didn't know if it was rude to say that or not. I don't care, but what were you saying, Tyson?
No, just yep. Give at The Scary Door a check. And yeah, thank you guys for listening.